put the pedal to the floor. It's loud and live and local. Oh, time for open mic.
Happy Hump Day, everybody. We are loud. We are live. We are local every morning. 6 to 9:30 a.m. right here on FM 96.9 The Game, AM 740, or maybe HD radio if you got one of those luxury sedans like I do. That's 101.1-2. You can find us. You can also watch us live and in color on YouTube. Just go to the YouTube machine and search for Open Mic Live Stream, and there we are. Welcome to Open Mic. I'm Mike Bianchi, the Bulldog sports columnist of the Orlando Sentinel. Joining me, Adam Reardon, the Deceptive Intellect, executive producer, Kelly Velez, the Smooth Operator.
Good morning, folks. We here. Oh, man, I told you we're getting closer to Memorial Day. My birthday's tomorrow, actually, y'all. Don't tell anybody.
Not one of those who announces his own birthday like Brandon Kravitz.
Don't tell nobody, though. I told you.
Oh, God.
Keep it on the low.
You know what I do when it's my birthday? Because I hate when people like on Facebook, it's your happy birthday. Like people you don't even know. I always like turn my Facebook off on my birthday.
Don't even pay attention to it whatsoever.
Yeah. So
See me, I'm not a birthday person, but with COVID happening and all that, I think it's okay to at least appreciate that we've made it another year. You know.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people get mad if they don't get like a lot of birthday wishes on Facebook when that's their birthday. Adam Reardon's probably one of those.
Yeah, right. No, I'm one of those guys who honestly takes the time to go back through all of them, and I'll hit like the little like button and then say, hey, thank you. Or no, I don't do thank you individually to each one because honestly, let's be honest, I get so many.
Oh yeah.
So I definitely do like one of those afterwards. Like really appreciate all the people who reached out to me, made this all possible.
That's beautiful, man.
Thank you.
I used to do that, and then I grew up.
I was well, Kelly, at least I know that Kelly's birthday may not cost me $10 because the last time a producer had a birthday, he announced his Cash App and stuff, and I felt obligated to like, okay,
yeah,
here's $10. Go get yourself some beers tonight. I know you drink those really expensive, overpriced IPAs. Here you go.
Drink beers and then do a podcast that pisses everybody off. Anyway, all right, we want to hear from you. Give us a call, 407-916-8255. You can tweet us at 969 The Game. You can also text us on Academy Sports and Outdoors text line. That's 50857. First chance at $1,000. That'll be coming up 7:10 a.m. this morning. We call it the Game Day Payday, presented by International Diamond Center. We like to motivate you every morning with our Open Mic Early Morning Inspirational Quote of the day from Neil Gaiman, who once said, and I quote, "Fairy tales are more than true, not because they tell us that dragons exist, but because they tell us that dragons can be beaten," end quote.
Oh, that was beautiful. Basically, people, as an adult, you kind of grow up and you say, these fairy tales aren't real. You know what I mean? But you're focusing on the fact that the fairy tales include mythological creatures that, couldn't possibly exist. No, the truth in that fairy tale, the story that we tell you as children, is that no matter how big the mountain is or how scary the fire-breathing dragon or what adversity you're going to face in your life, it can be slain. It can be defeated.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
That's right. That's right. That's the deceptive intellect right there. That's what he does right there. He breaks it all down so that we can understand it. All right, let's get to some sports. The LA Lakers get off the deck last night. They bounced back from a Game 1 loss to the Phoenix Suns. They hold on last night, 109-102, to take that Game 2 in the playoff series with the Suns. It was a big bounce-back game for the Lakers, especially Anthony Davis, who struggled in game one, took personal responsibility for that loss. He scores 34 points last night. Give me a little AD from last night.
2:19 left. Laker lead is 3. Will it be 6? It is! 6-point game! 98-92, courtesy of Anthony Davis.
That was a huge shot by Anthony Davis. Again, he scores 34 points, made 18 of 21 free throws, added 10 rebounds, 7 assists. Is anybody really surprised about this? In fact, if you were a betting man or if Anthony Davis were a stock, you would have bought the dip after game one and just, you knew he was going to go off, Adam Reardon.
Yeah, there's no question about it. A player like that, isn't going to have 2 nights in a row that are as disappointing as night number 1 was. And you just got the sense, and LeBron was saying things like, hey, listen, game one's always the feel out. I thought it was a little bit of a cop-out, to be honest with you. I didn't like those comments. But they bounced back game number 2, and people forget that they're the 7 seed. They're not the 2 seed. So when you tune in and you look and you go like, why are they playing at Phoenix? Because Phoenix was really good this year, and the Lakers had a couple of spells where AD was hurt and LeBron was hurt, so they haven't been going with all the bullets in the gun. Right. Now they have that, and if AD can be healthy and give them not necessarily what they gave him last night, but something in between, then the Lakers are going to be a very tough out as a 7 seed. I can promise you that.
Absolutely. And he was being more aggressive this game. I think he shot like 20 free throws. So it's like he was like, take over the game, man. Be physical. Go in there with Aiden.
Yeah. 18 of 21 free throws. Yeah.
I saw a stat that he was the first Laker with 30-plus points and 20 free throws since Kobe back in 08. So he was just being aggressive. That's exactly the type of ball he has to play if they want to beat this Phoenix team.
The other LA team not faring so well. The Clippers fall behind 2-0 in their series with the Dallas Mavericks, who got 39 points from Luka Doncic last night in their 127-121 victory. Give me some Luka.
Doncic across the line from right to left. Mavericks trying to play 2 for 1. Luka off 1 foot from 3. Oh, what a ridiculous shot. He was drifting to his left and just put it up because he was trying to play 2 for 1.
Guys, unbelievable. Luka Doncic, wow. The Clippers, by the way, were the best three-point shooting team in the league in the regular season, but Dallas is just out-shooting them. Tim Hardaway Jr. hit a playoff career-high 6 3-pointers. Luka had 5 3-pointers. Dallas was 18 of 34 from long range last night. I think they had 17 3-pointers in game 1. They're just out shooting the Clippers. I'm reading a quote right now from Tyronn Lue, the Clippers coach. I'm not concerned, he said. You better be concerned, pal, because you might be fired after 1 year, for crying out loud. If the Clippers get knocked out in the first round, Ty Lue might be gone. He might be gone.
Absolutely. When you have you literally just have Kawhi scored with like 40 last night. Paul George almost had 30. Everybody else was like 9. How much did Patrick Beverley have? Like 4 points? Come on, man. This is the playoffs. What are we doing?
By the way, I believe we asked the question, which of the teams that lost yesterday or game number 1 in the playoffs were you most concerned with? I do believe somebody said it's the Clippers because I don't think mentally getting over that 3-1 collapse last year, and I just with all due respect to Kawhi, who had that great 1 year,
shade.
He's not.
Oh, wow, well, you're burying Kawhi Leonard's championship now.
Well, no, listen, it was a great year. I mean, it was a great year. He's the Dirk Nowitzki of the North.
Listen, that's what you say. That's what you say when you get a good wine. This is a good year. Yes.
This 1 year was a really good year.
then the grapes got sour after that at the vineyard. Yeah. Anyway. The Brooklyn Nets took a 2-0 lead in their playoff series with the Boston Celtics with a 130-108 blowout in which the Celtics didn't just have to worry about the big 3. They had to worry about the big 3s of the NBA's most accurate 3-point shooter. Big Joe Harris. Say it is so, Joe. Give me some
Ripping out of
Joe.
the right wing, hands back Harris. Steps in with three. It's good! And now he owns the record for most threes in a playoff half for the Nets. Harris with 6 of them.
It's the big four, Mike. The big four over in Brooklyn.
Joe Harris getting it done. Franchise playoff record, 7 3-pointers, 25 points to go with Kevin Durant's 26 points. James Harden had 20. How good is it to be Joe Harris, Adam Reardon? You're a good shooter, yet nobody's paying attention to you because they have to worry about Durant, Harden, and Kyrie Irving. Huh? You're just standing out there firing away.
Joe Harris is doing what I always thought that Kyle Korver would do when he joined LeBron. I said, dude, as soon as LeBron gets a guy he can really trust from beyond the three-point line, he's going to go to the rack, bring all 5 defenders with him, and then kick it out to a guy who's just going to knock down that open three all day, every day. And then Korver, for some reason, apparently plays better under pressure with hands in his face because he wasn't that good when he played with LeBron.
I mean, Ray Allen played that role pretty well.
Yeah, Ray Allen. I mean, Ray Allen could shoot it no matter what. And Mike Miller. I mean, heck, Mike Miller was LeBron's best friend for a while because he knew anywhere that LeBron went, if he could just stay outside and knock down threes, it's so nice for those guys to have all these other threats, and that, as everybody's rotating and playing good defense, somebody's going to be open if you make the extra pass. And if it's Joe Harris, you made a musical reference. All I could think of is, hey, Joe, where are you going with that gun in your hand? I'm going to shoot threes, baby. Shoot threes.
Joe Harris, the man, the name you always use when you want to check into a hotel under a pseudonym. Hey, Joe Harris.
There's been some good ones.
All right, straight ahead, there are some NBA fans who actually think Chris Paul is dirty. These people don't know the meaning of the word dirty. I'll explain next on Open Mic.
Open Mic. We'll be back in a couple minutes.
All right, so obviously the Phoenix Suns lose last night to the LA Lakers, but in game one, Chris Paul, there was a play where he sort of rushed into the paint to box out LeBron James after LeBron James missed a free throw. All right, and so Chris Paul gets there. LeBron jumps and sort of oversells the contact as he is wont to do and went down with an apparent arm injury. All right. Now, Chris Paul was actually there before LeBron James, and it looked like a good play. I don't think he undercut LeBron James at all, but Frank Vogel said it was it was a very aggressive box out, a dangerous play where LeBron was up in the air and got uppercut. That's what Frank Vogel said, not me. All right, if you watch the play, I didn't see it that way at all. But anyway, it sort of brought up the debate about whether Chris Paul is a dirty player because he's had some incidents in the past where people accused him of being dirty. I'm trying to remember a couple of them, but he's had some. There's like a video on YouTube that shows all of Chris Paul's dirty plays and all of that. So it got me to thinking: first of all, I've never really considered Chris Paul. Have you guys ever considered Chris Paul to be dirty?
Nope.
No.
Yeah, I never have either, really. I mean, he does have a little bit of that reputation, though. But it got me to thinking about a spontaneous text question.
Spontaneous text question of the day.
Who are the dirtiest athletes of all time? Dirtiest athletes of all time. You can text those into 50857. I'm gonna go old school, way back when. Guys, you may have never even heard of. Adam Reardon, have you heard of Conrad Dobler?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. Conrad Dobler was an offensive tackle for the then St. Louis Cardinals way back in the day. And this was a guy who was just, I mean, he would gouge opposing defenders in the eye. He would twist their face mask. He would leg whip them. He would bite them. He would trip. He would do anything to keep them from getting to the quarterback. Now, his quarterbacks loved him, all right? But he was by far the dirtiest player in the NFL back in the day. And another player who was considered dirty, a legend, and this was before my time. I just remember my quote-unquote stepdad telling me about Dick Butkus, all right? Dick Butkus, Hall of Fame linebacker for the Chicago Bears, and he had a reputation. He was a hard hitter, but he also had a reputation for being a little dirty. Well, one time, according to folklore, Dick Butkus got up out of a pile, and the ball carrier accused Dick Butkus of biting his fingers in the pile, all right? And Dick Butkus looked at the ref and goes, if I'd have bitten him, he'd have no fingers left. Yeah. So, anyway.
The first person that comes to mind is Bill Romanowski.
Oh.
From back in the day.
Oh, yeah, spit. Who did he spit on? Did he spit on somebody?
He did spit on somebody. First thing that popped into my head was Bill Lambier from those Bad Boys,
the Bad Boy Pistons. He was a hack. He would try to hurt people if they came into the lane. He really would.
Listen, you talk about players that really embody that whole like villain mentality.
Yeah.
He was straight into that character as soon as he got on the court.
I don't think Larry
punched him in the
Bird.
face.
I don't think Larry Bird will talk to Bill Lambier to this day.
I think you're right.
Yeah, because Larry Bird always thought Bill Lambier wasn't just trying to, play hard. He was trying to hurt people. And Larry Bird didn't appreciate that. You're right. Bill Lambier was, if you want to go back into the history books, what about Ty Cobb?
Yes.
Remember this? First of all, he was a blatant racist, but do you remember there were stories that Ty Cobb used to sharpen his spikes before baseball games? and just go in, slide feet up high and just cut, opposing infielders to shreds with his razor blade cleats. Yeah. Wow. Anyway, text those in 50857. Dirtiest athletes of all time. What about that? Who's the old Bengals linebacker? Is he still playing, by the way?
Oh, Vontez Perfect.
Yeah.
I don't know. He may be serving a year suspension. Who knows?
He's probably the dirtiest modern day player, right?
Yeah,
I would say
think so. Yeah, I mean,
Right. I mean, he's been. How many times has he been like either suspended or fined for dirty plays? Good grief! Just egregious hits this guy has been fined for. So there's got to be any hockey fans out there. I mean, hockey's got. Hockey even has names for their dirty players. Goons. Their designated dirty players are called goons. So who's the biggest goon in hockey history? Text those in 50857. What were you going to say?
I was going to say who is the guy? Was his name Marty McSorley? Or am I wrong on that? I'm trying to remember. There was a guy who got in trouble for hitting another guy in the head. Remember? I want to say he was even arrested.
I think it was McSorley.
Yeah,
I think it might have been McSorley.
He hit him in the head with his stick when he was like skating away. So I mean. Doesn't get worse than that.
Did they arrest him during the game or after the game?
I think after the game they filed charges. I think it was Marty McSorley.
They said no, come with us.
Yeah,
put the stick down.
Yeah, we got a different penalty box for you. You don't get to sit alone in this one.
It's called the county jail.
Yeah.
Text those in 50857. Brian Cox. Somebody texted in. Dennis Rodman. Was Dennis Rodman dirty?
Yes, in ways, but he was like annoying dirty. I mean, like not hurtful dirty, but annoying dirty.
Mike Tyson, the ear biter. Yeah, that's pretty dirty.
When I was thinking of boxing, I was thinking of Andrew Galata, who was winning his fight against Riddick Bowe, and for some reason just wanted to start pounding him below the belt, and I mean, just wouldn't stop. It was crazy.
What about Tanya
and Sue? Dominican Sue, somebody texted in.
Yeah, I think Kelly just got the one that probably gets the gold medal. Tanya Harding, he just said.
Actually, she didn't get the gold medal,
but for these purposes.
Yeah, but shit, to be dirty, don't you have to have
a hit out on somebody, Mike? She took a hit out. That's as good as it gets.
Okay, but don't you have to have multiple offenses to be really dirty?
Well, the Olympics only come around once every 4 years, Mike. I mean, her window of opportunity was open. She jumped through it, and then it closed again.
I feel like if you do one quote-unquote dirty thing and it wasn't that bad, okay, we'll let it slide. But if it's to the effect of that, no. Okay.
Yeah, these other guys we're talking about are doing like biting fingers and cup checks and things like that. She had a hitman take a crowbar to the knee of her biggest competitor. Her adversary.
Still didn't knock her out of the Olympics.
Still lost.
All right, straight ahead. What's our thought-provoking daily poll question today? Here it is. All right, so Deshaun Watson, I don't know if you guys saw this news yesterday. He's not even going to be deposed in this civil case until February of 2022. The football season will be over. Will the NFL allow him to play? That's next on Open Mic. Open Mic, the best radio show in town. Isn't that right, Urban Meyer?
I think your facts are to the NFL right now. That's the thing. It's like I'll talk to them and I'll explain to them, just like I've explained to you and everybody else, what happened. I'm not hiding anything. It's not like, oh, it's this big secret. It's just, look, it was said to me. And then that was my experience. I got no problem talking to anybody, whoever wants to call and talk about it. I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to name teams, but I can tell you this, it's been said to me on many occasions, not just last year or the year before, we can backtrack. So it's kind of always been, it's been out there. It's just never been said. We've always been quiet, fly under the radar. You're a good little Asian. You're a good, minority, the model minority. I think I broke that model.
That's former NFL player and assistant coach Eugene Chung, an Asian American, says he's been contacted by the NFL about something he said during a recent interview where he actually revealed that during a recent job interview with one NFL team that somebody on that team told him he was not the right minority to get the job that was up for, to be hired. Said he wasn't the right minority, obviously. So, yeah, that's created quite the controversy in the National Football League. Everybody wants to know, well, who was it? What team was it that said this? Who was the executive who told you that you weren't the right minority? And Eugene Chung says, I'm not going to name names, at least publicly. I don't know if he'll tell the NFL because the NFL is looking into this now. Eugene Chung, as I mentioned, is Asian American. I think he used to play for the Jaguars. Asian Americans make up 6% of the U.S. population, according to the story I'm reading, and according to one survey, fewer than 2% of the players in the NFL. So, anyway, that is that story. I wonder why he won't name the name. Doesn't want to burn bridges.
Well, I'd imagine if he's spoken to the NFL about it, the NFL has said don't name the name publicly.
Or if they're doing like an investigation, they probably wouldn't want him to say anything yet. That
would be really bad for the NFL. To say if he comes out and he's like, yeah, it was the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah,
it would be really bad for the brand of the league. So it's better to do it this way. Hey, tell us behind closed doors. Sort of like any other family, you know what I mean? Like if you have issues inside your family, you want to deal with them, behind. You don't want to have that argument out in the street so all the other people are looking in going, oh, look how dysfunctional they are out there. Is that a chair? Is that a chair?
Eugene Chung didn't strike me as the one that would believe in no snitching.
Yeah.
It's real. It's a real one.
And plus, he probably still wants a job in the NFL and doesn't want to, obviously he does. I guess he just interviewed for one in which he was told that he wasn't the right kind of minority. So, yeah, he probably still wants a job and doesn't want to, create waves and burn bridges among teams.
See, that's what's interesting to me, right? Because if you have an organization or even a league where that happens, right, where they say you're not the right minority for the job, why would you want to go back to that establishment? That's the only thing.
Well, I would. Here's the truth: whatever team it was that told me that, said that to me, I would never go back to them for a job. Mm-hmm. Now, and does anybody here believe for one split second that this didn't happen?
That was one of my thoughts. It can happen. We're not victim shaming, of course. We don't know what's going on, but it is a possibility. I thought of what was his name, who acted like he was attacked racially.
Jesse Smollett.
Yeah, that type of situation. Yeah. It's like, oh
well, no. So here's the thing with the NFL, they lose my benefit of the doubt because we do know for a fact that there have been NFL GMs who have asked questions of potential draftees, things such of the nature of, has your mom ever been a prostitute?
Yeah, true.
So crossing a line of acceptability in regards to things that come out of the mouths of NFL execs, when I hear somebody say, hey, listen, this whole Black Lives Matter movement that's going on right now. Most of our athletes are black. Man, if you were black, we would have hired you. You could get. You're just not the right minority. Could I envision that being said today by an NFL exec? Absolutely.
isn't that sort of well? To me, it's also a slight on other minorities. Like the only reason that they're being hired is because they're of a certain minority. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I mean, to me, that sort of undermines whoever got the job he was interviewing for, because if the guy who got the job, and again, I don't know if he knows.
Oh, you mean the right minority for the job?
The quote unquote the right minority for the job. He's probably going, oh, so the only reason I got the job is because I'm the right minority for the job, not because I'm the best candidate for the job. To me, it sort of undermines the whole process if NFL executives are saying, oh, we have to hire a minority because because that's what we have to do.
The only thing I dislike more than essentially the Rooney Rule is the fact that we needed to implement a Rooney Rule. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Rooney Rule basically, you want the best guy to get the job, right? And so this is why people argue against the Rooney Rule. Shouldn't the best guy get the job? Listen, the reason why there's a Rooney Rule is because the best guys weren't getting the jobs. That's why they had to create the Rooney Rule, is because that you were good old boying the network into perpetuity.
The best friend of the GM was getting the job.
Right.
Yeah. And that certainly happens. I mean, the most famous story is Mike Tomlin. And again, the Rooney Rule by the Rooneys in Pittsburgh. It was written by them, and they interviewed Mike Tomlin and nobody thought Mike Tomlin was going to get that job, and he knocked them dead in the interview process, and they hired Mike Tomlin, and here we are. How long later? 15 years, whatever it was.
Super Bowl titles. Yep.
Yeah. So Mike Tomlin is the perfect example of why the Rooney Rule works. All right, straight ahead, we're going to get into this Deshaun Watson story. Also, move over, LeBron. You have another China sympathizing athlete that
to the shortstop. They go to second, one, first base, two. That's a double play. And the Royals have done it. They end the Tampa Bay Rays' 11-game win streak.
Boo on the Royals. Boo on you, Royals. End of my Rays' 11-game winning streak. Even though old Rich Hill for the Rays gets a career-high 13 strikeouts and still loses the game. Oh, well. That's all right. We're still atop the AL East, are we not, Kelly Velez? We're still ahead of your Yankees and Red Sox, aren't we?
I mean, so far, that's cute. And you have another shot of redemption tomorrow, so, can't be too mad.
Yeah. Speaking of baseball, congratulations to a local high school baseball team, the First Academy. They won their first state championship. All right. They beat 11-time previous state championship winner, tradition-rich Miami Westminster Christian in the FHSAA Class 3A state final. They win that game 3-0. They finished the season as the First Academy 30-1 this year. Wow.
30-1?
Yeah, 30-1.
Jesus.
Yeah.
High school baseball, if you got like two good pitchers, I feel like,
it's over.
That's it.
Yeah, Ben Barrett, the TFA pitcher. I'm reading the story now. Never mind. 4-hit shutout. I thought there was some really good stat, but not really that good.
He probably had a bunch of 4-hit shutouts this year. They're in 30-1.
Right. All right. So pro wrestler turned actor John Cena has issued an apology after referring to Taiwan as a country. All right. He was promoting F9, which is the latest Fast and Furious film, in a video posted on some social media site in China. Cena explained, speaking fluent Mandarin Chinese, by the way, that he'd done so many interviews that he made the mistake in promoting the film of calling Taiwan a country. All right. I guess in this previous interview, I'm reading the story. He said Taiwan will be the first country to get to watch F9. All right. So obviously the China doesn't consider Taiwan a separate country. So John Cena felt the need to go on this Chinese website and apologize, speaking fluent Chinese. Here's a little bit of that, by the way.
你好，中国，这是叫西娜。我必须说，现在，在《速度与激情》中，我做很多采访，很多。所以在一个采访，我有一个错误，所有人问我，如果我可以用中文
，Okay, that's good.
速度与激情中文给我。
That's good.
Sounded good.
Wow. Guy speaks good Chinese, does he not? Wow.
His Mandarin was actually a little bit better than I expected.
Just a little bit better.
Yeah. Anyway, to translate that, he said, I made a mistake. I am really sorry. I really respect China and the Chinese people. Sorry. He reiterated his apology in the video's caption, in which he said, I love and respect China and Chinese people. Now, obviously, this has created a bit of a controversy coming after, what happened in the NBA was it last year? I lose track of time. Anyway, everybody remembers Houston Rockets former GM Daryl Morey tweeted in support of the Hong Kong protests. This was in 2019. LeBron James, among others, was one of the basketball stars who offered a China-friendly response, saying Daryl Morey, quote, wasn't educated on the situation at hand. So that created a controversy for the NBA. The NBA lost some business in China. I think China pulled NBA games off their state-run TV networks, which ended up costing the NBA a bunch of money. The Taiwan, again, I'm reading some history on Taiwan here. They've been self-ruled since 1949. All right, and over the decades, They have developed, a vibrant democracy, but has never declared full independence. And that's partly because China has threatened violence to regain the island if the island ever tries to formally split with the mainland. All right. I don't think John Cena needs to be apologizing to China. Okay?
What it sounds like to me, because he said it himself, he's had many tours over there. He's been out there for quite some time. He said what he knew in his head was true, which is Taiwan is a country. And then with the whole business going on with China and Fast 9 coming out, they're like, you might want to double back on those country statements because we're trying to sell some tickets over there. He's like, oh, my bad. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So he goes on and he apologizes profusely. Come on now. Good Lord. Is that what it's about now? You have to protect your interest in China? God.
Well, anywhere.
How about just saying what's
true? You want people to walk around and say what's true 100% of the time, every time?
Yeah, how about just saying what's true, especially when it comes to human rights issues, for crying out loud.
Yeah, but this
agree.
Yeah, at the end of the day, John Cena's, he's speaking as an actor who's in a movie who the last thing he wants to do is do what happened to the NBA, have China go, you know what? For that attitude, that movie ain't gonna make the theaters here, buddy boy. And China's a big country with a lot of people, and I'm assuming,
It's a big country.
Yeah, I'm assuming that it has a lot of movie theaters, or there is a lot of money to be made in China, as we learned by the NBA's reaction. So at the end of the day, these are people that are choosing their future financial well-being.
Business over principle?
Yeah.
Business over principle?
Happens every day. Happens every day in this country.
Money over morals?
Every day, all day, every day. All day, every day.
Money over morals.
Yeah.
Here comes the money.
That's right, folks.
I have a real issue with this. All right, we're talking about a country that is, again, athletes rip what's going on in this country. All right, which again is mild in comparison to what's happening in China.
But Mike, be fair. If this was a communist country, right? Let's pretend this is a communist country. 3 years ago, when Black Lives Matter started and speaking out against President Trump, if he had the power to go, that's it, no more NBA, would he not have done it?
No.
What?
No.
What? He said fire all those SOBs, all that.
Well,
he was actually
he wouldn't have banned the league.
He encouraged the league to fire anybody who spoke out.
Yeah, but that's different than actually governmentally banning the league.
If he could, would he have?
I don't think so.
Okay, all right.
I don't think so.
All right, fair. Okay, fair enough.
No, I don't. No, I still think in this country, whatever your political bent is, all right, you're not just gonna. You're not just gonna ban people from speaking out. Can you fire people? Can an individual business fire people for speaking out and having certain views? Yeah. But that's different than the government actually shutting down and banning the business itself, I think.
No, there's no question. That's what separates us. But I'm saying, had he had the power, because he certainly suggested that the NFL fire these SOBs. Those were his words. That had he had a magic button he could press and actually had fired those guys or gotten rid of them he would have done it. He would have done it, but we're talking about communist China where they can do it. So therefore, their leadership doesn't.
You're defending China. Oh my God!
No, really? I'm just saying that it's not a whole lot different. And this money's over morals. I believe it was the great American poets ODB, RZA, Giza, that all said cream. Mike, you know what cream means? Cash rules everything around me.
It's true. Get the money. Dollar bill, y'all.
That's it.
Well, John Cena certainly believes that. There's no question about it. I just can't believe that people are so beholden to foreign countries now. You have Americans who are burying their principles so as not to offend a a tyrannical communist country.
Mike, didn't we say yesterday that Michael Jordan never spoke out against anything because he was afraid to hurt his brand? So he placed his money over any morals. He may have felt a certain way about certain things, but never spoke out because his money was way more important than his morals.
I understand, but I have an issue if people speak out against things in this country, but they're afraid to speak out against issues in other countries. To me, that's ass backwards.
Well,
that's ass backwards almost.
Maybe they're more familiar with the issues in this country, seeing how they live here.
Yeah. Again, well, go Google Taiwan and deaths, and you'll see some stuff that's going on in China. Let's pause for station identification.
WYGM Orlando, WJRR HD2 Cocoa Beach, Orlando. Facebook.com/969 The Game.
There is Chase Elliott, and he is the winner of the Echo Park, Texas Grand Prix. Due to inclement weather, the race has been called with 14 to go. Bill Elliott was right.
Yeah, he was.
And Chase Elliott wins.
My buddy.
Nobody knows NASCAR like our buddy does.
Hey there, buddy, chum, pal, friend, buddy, pal, chum, bud, friend, fella, brother, amigo, pal, buddy, friend, chummy, chum, pal.
Here's Orlando sports TV legend, Buddy Pittman.
Buddy Pittman talks NASCAR with us every Wednesday, and we always appreciate it. Buddy, you just heard, big shock there. Chase Elliott wins a road race, huh? In Austin, and yeah, poor visibility, standing water, the cars slipping and sliding all over the place. Buddy, your thoughts on what happened in Austin over the weekend?
Well, first off, I think it was good that they got to go to a new venue. It was a shame that it was pouring down rain and they had to experience in the rain. But as you said, Chase Elliott, once again, finding his way to victory lane on a road course. He's won. That's his fifth road course victory in the last 6 road course races that they've had. So he is definitely dominating. Jeff Gordon's the all-time king with 9 road course wins, and Chase Elliott very young in his career and already has 6 of them. So he is going to chase him down. And keep in mind, 4 of the next 10 races that they have are on road courses as well. So he stands to also profit from that as they move on through the season. As far as the rain goes, Mike, I was very disappointed. I think NASCAR is going to have to do something. They experienced it at Charlotte with the Roval last year in the playoffs, and they experienced it yesterday with this heavy downpours, the standing water on the tracks that don't drain fast enough. I just think NASCAR's got to take a look at this. I think there's a difference between what they call the rain tires. They're designed to run on wet tracks, not on flooded tracks. And I think NASCAR is going to have to come to a determination on what is wet racing and what is when it's just plain out too wet to race. And I think the drivers are concerned because, I mean, as you could see, if you watched the race, you could not see, 10 feet in front of you. And we had some big impacts with drivers just running into each other because they did not know that the car in front of them was slowing up. Cole Custer really took out Martin Truex Jr., so it was a dangerous situation in my opinion.
Buddy, listen to Kevin Harvick after the race. Listen to this clip.
It's the most unsafe thing I've ever done in a race car by a lot. You can't see anything down the straightaways. These cars were not built to run in the rain. And when you can't see, my spotter said, check up, because he thought he saw 2 cars wrecking. I let off, and the guy behind me hit me wide open because he never saw me. So it's unbelievable that we're out there doing what we're doing because we're in race cars that aren't meant to do this. And if you can't see going down the straightaway, it's absolutely not safe, not even close.
All right, so he also said we had no business being out in the rain, period. So, yeah, there are a lot of drivers concerned, huh?
Yeah, it was a dangerous situation because, like I say, Cole Custer came through Martin Truex Jr. full bore, and like I say, and that was because Martin Truex had just run into Michael McDowell just before that because McDowell had slowed up, and you could not see him. Truex said by the time they have a little light in the back window that's supposed to help you see during those low visibility things, Truex said as soon as he saw the light, he was into it. He said there was no reaction time whatsoever. And then, of course, Cole Custer comes through and creams him. There were a number of other cars that got into a wreck. I just think NASCAR is going to have to take a hard, serious look at it and determine, okay, we can run on a wet track, but we're still not to the point where we can race in conditions like they saw at Austin. It was, in my opinion, dangerous, and I think NASCAR will take a hard look at that before they get into that situation again.
All right, buddy, I'm gonna be an ignorant fan here, all right? So bear with me. Why can't they have windshield wipers?
Well, they do. They do now. On these cars, they have one windshield wiper if you see it on the front. That's part of the rain conditions.
What about Rain-X? Do they put that on their windshields?
Well, now, I don't know if there's a stipulation in the rule book about Rain-X, but as hard as it was raining the other day, I don't think Rain-X or anything else would have helped. No, nothing would have helped in those conditions. It was just simply way too much rain and way too much standing water for racing conditions. So they do, when they go to the rain or the wet setup, so to speak, with the wet tires, the cars are required to have that windshield wiper on the front. They're also required to have a fan in the front dash now that blows air up to help keep the window from fogging up. And they also have to have that red light in the back. It's not a brake light, but it's a flashing light that blinks. So it's supposed to help the cars behind you see a car in front of you. But like I say, the visibility on Sunday was just way too bad. That didn't even help at all. So they've tried to come up with some scenarios where they can race in the rain. But once again, when it gets to that bad, I think they've gone across the line, and they have to go back to realizing that they just can't race like that.
All right, so the other big story with Chase Elliott winning, obviously he drives for Hendrick Motorsports. They tied, you talked a little bit about it last week, they tied Richard Petty Enterprises for most victories ever by a NASCAR team with 268.
That's true. That's a pretty amazing accomplishment when we think back to 1984 when Rick Hendrick just started this race team as All-Star Racing. Now, he's been in the sport now for 37 years, and Mike, the last time that Hendrick Motorsports drivers did not get at least one win during the year, you have to go all the way back to 1985, the second year that Hendrick Motorsports was in the sport. And you also have to keep in mind a big weekend for Chevrolet, because Chevrolet got their 800th Cup victory this weekend with that victory. And an interesting note, as you go through the years, it has been a Hendrick driver that has given Chevy their 400th, 500th, 600th, 700th, and now their 800th win in Cup racing. So long-standing tradition between Hendrick Motorsports and Chevrolet, and it was a big weekend for both this weekend.
Buddy, back to the rain. Obviously unfortunate that the weather was what it was. Will that cost Austin, the track in Austin, a chance of being a regular stop on NASCAR now?
I don't think so. I mean, they haven't come out with the 2022 schedule yet, but I think, everyone was just thrilled. It is an amazing facility. I mean, it's beautifully done. It's well designed. It's well run. It's just an outstanding race facility. And so I think NASCAR will give it another chance because I think the drivers actually liked the experience of racing on it because they did have a 50-minute practice session for this since it was a brand-new track. So I think the drivers liked the challenge. They liked the new venue. But at the same time, the weather just did not give them the opportunity to experience it like they should have. So I think NASCAR will give them another chance. We'll wait and see when they come out with the 2022 schedule. But this was a deal that was struck between basically Speedway Motorsports and the Circuit of the Americas. One of the Charlotte races went to the Circuit of Americas, and then in return, they gave the All-Star race to Texas. So the All-Star race will be held in Texas this year. So Texas still gets their two events, but it was kind of a deal struck between them. So I think it's going to work out, that they will give it another experience, and hopefully next time they'll have the weather that will really give them the opportunity to experience the track the way it's meant to be.
Buddy, this week, big racing weekend, Memorial Day weekend. Got the Indy 500, got NASCAR, got the Grand Prix of Monaco. Buddy, you're going to be busy this weekend, starting about 8 in the morning.
I tell you, Mike, I might have bed sores before this is done, sitting in that chair all day long watching. But yeah, it is the biggest weekend in motorsports racing. The F1 race at Monaco, and then Indy 500. Scott Dixon starting on the pole, qualifying over 231 miles per hour, and then you've got the Coca-Cola 600, NASCAR's longest race of the season and most challenging race for these guys. So it's going to be a big weekend. It's going to be interesting to see how things play out at Charlotte because, one, it is such a long race. And Jimmy Johnson, of course, the all-time winner there at Charlotte with 8 wins. But you got 2 guys, Kevin Harvick and Martin Truex Jr., who have 3 there. Brad Keselowski has won there twice. So you've got guys who've been to victory lane there a number of times. But it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out with the longest race on the NASCAR schedule, which is always a challenge for these guys when you get to Memorial Day weekend.
Who's the local guy? Really good IndyCar driver from Windermere who's emerged as one of the stars in the sport. Spencer, can't remember his name.
Piggott.
Yeah, Spencer Piggott. How's he supposed to do at the 500 this weekend?
Well, he's not going to be running in this weekend's race.
Oh, he's not.
No. He is driving full-time this season in the sports car circuit for IMSA. He's driving for Riley Motorsports and IMSA. And matter of fact, in the Rolex 24 in their LMP3 class, they won their class in the Rolex 24, and they finished 3rd at Sebring this year. But he's not driving IndyCar full-time. He's kind of been one of these guys that drove in just a couple of races a year for Riley Motorsports when they would get into the race. He drove in the Indy 500. He drove in the Indy Grand Prix on a couple of those tracks. But on most of the time, he's driving the IMSA circuit or the sports car circuit, and that's where he's running full-time right now this season. But he is not actually entered in this year's Indy 500.
Buddy Pittman, nobody knows racing better than he does. He joins us every Wednesday to talk about it. Buddy, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Mike, have a great week.
All right, straight ahead. What is it? It is the sound off. What's the sound off? That means we react to the quotable quotes in the world of sports. That's coming your way next on Open Mic.
Now, here's your chance to win $1,000.
That is the sound off. Before we get to that, though, I had to read this text we just got we were just talking about the John Cena apologizing to China video. Somebody texted in, looked like a hostage video. Pathetic. Yeah, it was pathetic. All right, what do we have for sound?
Some producer standing behind the film
Right.
with a cue card written in Mandarin.
And as he keeps on going, he drops it. Another one's behind it. Keeps on dropping.
Yeah. Anyway.
First, in terms of who's here, who's not here, did you have any kind of negotiations with veteran players in terms of what you might do to get more?
No negotiations. I just told them they'll be here. You know, I would love to have you in the meetings, watching film, do some team building. We got some guys that'll come in and out. But as far as if you were a starter, you weren't going to be on the field anyway.
Okay, Bruce Arians saying the starters didn't have to come into training camp and things like that. Mike, what do you feel?
Yeah, he told them not to be there. No, here's what happened. Let me tell you what really happened, all right? Tom Brady goes, we're not going to be there, okay? And Bruce goes, okay, Tom, whatever you say, Tom. Hey, Tom, more cream in your coffee, Tom? Okay, Tom, whatever you say, Tom. Yeah. That's how it worked. Of course, Bruce Arians is going to say, we don't really want him here. They weren't going to be on the field anyway. And he's probably right. But Bruce Arians wants them at the facility, but they don't even want to be at the facility, which is fine. I mean, it worked out fine for them last year when Tom Brady took them to a separate site to work out. So, again, Bruce Arians he's going to do whatever Tom Brady wants to do.
Sound off. I don't know what other guys have said, or I just felt it difficult to read. You know, sometimes
DeChambeau walks by.
Sometimes I lost my train of thought. Yeah, hearing that.
Oh man, Brooks Koepka really felt a certain sort of way when he was doing a post-game interview. And DeChambeau walked right by him, and he lost his whole train of thought. You know, he got so negative. Adam, what was going on there?
And you've got to see the eye roll when Bryson DeChambeau walks by. I mean, the eye roll is classic, and then he utters the curse word, calls it BS. Man, this is a rivalry brewing, isn't it?
I'm here for it too. I'll be honest that if I'm not going to have a dominant force in golf like we had with Tiger Woods, or if we're not going to have the Cinderella story of the 50-year-old man who wins a major like Phil just did, give me this. Give me, and I need Brooks Koepka to get recovered. Now, Mike, I've switched my opinion on something else, because to get Brooks Koepka to the level where he can compete against Bryson DeChambeau on a week-in, week-out basis and have those guys be, I need the crowd not to be bumping that guy, okay? So, I mean, please keep the crowd off the course. I need Brooks Koepka, because especially if I don't want these guys to hide it either. Right. I don't want them to go.
No, absolutely not.
Because we've never seen that. Have we ever seen that in golf? Well, listen, we've had rivalries, or we've tried to create rivalries, but they've always been, competitive. That was general disdain and dislike. You don't eye roll somebody into oblivion just because they walked behind you. You do that because of that person walked behind you.
The only time that's ever happened is Happy Gilmore and Shooter McGavin. That's the last time.
That's what I need. I need some of that. I'll sign up to watch golf on a week-in-week basis without Tiger, without a major storyline, if those two guys are in, because that is a storyline. That's a storyline.
Here's the question I have as a member of the media, all right? So that was a leaked video, all right? It came from Golf Channel. Now, Golf Channel, what happened was Golf Channel reporter Todd Lewis was preparing to begin the interview with Koepka. Koepka looks to his right before he does the exaggerated roll of the eyes. Then Koepka answers Lewis's question about the round, and DeChambeau walks by, and that's when Koepka, gets all annoyed and distracted. Here's my question. Why didn't Golf Channel air that? They chose not to air that. part of the interview.
Because they're boring, Mike. They don't want the fans on the green. They don't want their players to go back and forth.
So here's the answer that the Golf Channel. I mean, they're the Golf Channel, right? Probably the viewership of the Golf Channel is
they're
probably
not owned by the PGA Tour. They're not owned. No. They're their own separate entity. NBC owns the Golf Channel. For crying out loud.
I think that what happens is the Golf Channel is maybe a little bit above that sort of putting that on their channel to start with. They release it to the
God forbid that we show something interesting.
Yes, to start with. So then they quote unquote leak it on the internet, and then it goes rampant, and everybody's talking about it. And then guess what they do afterwards? They probably showed it on the Golf Channel after it had leaked to the. They wanted to release it to us youngins first to get excited about
it. That's spineless is what that. Oh, we don't want to make Brooks Koepka mad or the PGA Tour mad at us. So we're not going to air it. Huh?
They didn't want to upset the this is not what golf's about crowd that was already upset. I already had their tighty-whities in a bunch over the fact that there were people on the golf course on the 18th hole after a 50-year-old was winning a major. I mean, they didn't want to cause any heart attacks amongst that 55
demo
plus demo.
The Golf Channel not airing that is more pathetic than John Cena's Chinese apology. For crying out loud.
Did you see the reporter's face afterwards too? Bright smile.
He loved it because he knew what he had. He knew that was going to. He said the guys in the truck are just going to love this, because they're going to watch this back about 50 times. Well, somebody in the truck was smart enough to, let me download this to my phone. It'll go viral.
Sound off. There's no level of concern. I mean, we just got to play our game. We got to play through this. We got to incorporate our defense. Luka's going to get his touches. We just got to do a better job defensively of just quieting everyone else.
That was just fake news.
Paul George saying that there's no level of concern. What's going on here, Mike? Of course there's a level of concern.
Good Lord. Tyronn Lue said the same thing. We're not really worried. You better be worried, L.A. Clippers. You're down 2-0 to the Dallas Mavericks. You just lost 2 home games to the Dallas Mavericks. Luka Doncic has been the best player on the court, and now you're going to Dallas where there's no limit on how big the crowd can be. They're going to have sold-out arenas in Dallas. So, yeah, the L.A. Clippers better be worried, and Paul George better be worried as well because he's the one that's going to get the brunt of the criticism. If the Clippers go down in the first round, people will be pointing fingers at Paul George. All right? That's just the way it's going to be. And and anybody who denies that doesn't know how NBA fans think. They're going to blame this on Paul George.
Sound off. We're a veteran team. We had some mistakes down the end, but we stayed poised, we stayed comfortable. We've been in that position before. We didn't overreact. It's a team who's playing at home with a crowd. They're going to make shots. And, we just make sure that we executed on the other end, that we got stops when it mattered. So, we didn't stress too much. This team can make shots. They're the best shooting team in the league.
Anthony Davis, after rebounding after that horrible game one he had, saying that, the Lakers are a better team when they're not stressed at the end, Adam. Of course, hello. What do you mean? You're up like 6-7, like, oh, yeah, we're good. If we're not behind the count, we're going to be fine.
Well, you and I had this conversation off the air. Listen, I'm a LeBron guy. I'm a big The only chink in his armor, in my opinion, is late in the game. If they're down by 1 and he's at the free, I don't think he's going to make 2 free throws. And so, yes, do people perform better when they're not under pressure? Probably. And listen, when the Lakers, are winning basketball game, I think it's easier for them to close things out. Now, granted, they were up by 1 at one point and then went on a 7-0 run to stretch it to 8 or something along those lines. So they were in a tight moment, but it's better than being down by 10. That's for damn sure.
That's right.
Sound off.
And that's a sound off for today, ladies and gentlemen, which means it's time to give away some tickets. All right, first of all, if this was in the right place, we would be doing just fine right now. Bam! Let's do it, guys. Yes, that's right. We have tickets to the Rays and Royals game. Listen, Rays, you guys can come back with the win. I know you guys just lost. It's okay. But you can be there in person to see them win on the 27th tomorrow, okay? Give us a call right now. It's 407-916-8255 if you want these tickets. Rays fans, call me up right now. Now, Mike, them know what they have to look forward to.
All right, here's what we're going to talk about next. If we talked about this new elite overtime elite pro basketball league that's starting up. Here's my question. If more and more elite one and done basketball players skip college to join this new overtime elite pro league, do you think it's going to hurt or help college basketball? We will discuss and debate next on Open Mic.
Hey, this is Frank Caliendo.
So we talked yesterday about this new overtime elite professional basketball league. The Orlando Sentinel's Buddy Collins reported earlier this week that Matt and Ryan Bewley, two 6'9" twin prodigies who play at Orlando's West Oaks Academy, they are essentially making history by bypassing their junior and senior seasons of high school to sign 2-year contracts described as $1 million deals to join this new overtime elite professional league. That they're going to become the first Americans in basketball to sign with a U.S. pro league before finishing high school. And again, we talked about it yesterday, and if this all comes to fruition and all this turns out to be true, good for these guys. Good for these guys, because overtime, and Adam explained a little bit about it yesterday, is a digital sort of content producer that's wildly popular among young athletes with its highlights and interview videos. Among the investors are Amazon founder Jeff Bezos, rap artist Drake, current NBA players Kevin Durant, Trae Young, and many others. All right. So there's some big time money behind this. According to ESPN, this new league has promised 6-figure salaries for all the players, along with full health care, academics and academic programs. So essentially they'll be in school as well, and guarantees of up to an additional $100,000 to use for college costs. So they can go, essentially they can, while they're in high school, they can go get their high school education and get paid at the same time. Again, if I had a kid who could take advantage of this, if I had a kid who was good enough for this, well, duh, hell yeah. Sign me up, all right? And Adam, you can speak to this. You're a high school coach. Again, a lot of the old school fans are freaking out about this, all right? But I don't understand why. It's not, high school sports is not like the good old days when you grew up in a certain neighborhood and you played youth sports together, and then you grew up and you played high school football and basketball and baseball or whatever sport was in season together. It's not like that anymore. Kids today specialize at a young age. It starts, when does it start, Adam? When they're 10, 11, 12 years old, when the best of them go on these elite level club travel teams, and, essentially, don't a lot of kids today skip playing high school sports altogether and instead focus on their travel ball teams?
Well, there's actually, and speak to soccer, is that there are actually certain leagues, that the highest league that you can play in, that you essentially sign a contract with them. But the contract is stating that you're not going to play high school soccer. You're not going to play beach soccer with your friends. You're not going to sign up for a futsal league, because they're investing so much money into that elevated league that they don't want their players getting hurt playing lower levels. And so yeah, I mean, the specialization and not playing high school sports, that's a thing. I mean, now on the girls' side, it used to be, there's actually a league that still does this, but the biggest league is called ECNL. And one of the changes they made was to allow girls to play high school. But I know for a fact, because I'm on sort of both sides of the fence, I'm very close with club coaches. The club coaches hate when kids play high school soccer, because the level is so much lower than what they're playing, that when they get them back, they've developed some poor habits. They're dribbling and holding the ball more because that's what they had to do at high school, or they take unnecessary knocks and maybe pick up injuries that maybe they wouldn't have. Now, you just never know with injuries. But to answer your question in a much shorter way, there is a movement to not play high school sports by the elite athlete.
Okay, so what's if the people who are railing against this new pro league, all right, to stealing high school, but what's the difference between choosing not to play high school sports so you can play on your travel ball team? What's the difference between that and skipping high school sports to play in a pro league, except that you're getting paid, which is better?
I think, but I think that for a long time, and I think that this argument sort of only holds true for certain sports. for whatever reason you want to get out of that. The idea that these young people are putting big money into their pockets. Again, nobody was screaming about, what about the education when it came to Jennifer Capriati, or if there's a golf phenom that decides at the age of 16, the Michelle Wees of the world, that they could potentially turn pro. We don't have that conversation in golf and tennis. When we get to basketball, or when we start talking about paying football players, all of a sudden it's you can't get, these kids are going to just blow this money. They're just, but the truth of the matter is, this has been going on around the world for a long time when it comes to soccer and even basketball.
Don't you think, though, and again, football and basketball, don't you think that the reason this gets everybody all worked up is because, again, a lot of people are college football and college basketball fans, so they worry about how this is going to affect those sports. But nobody cares about
but Mike, here's the thing:
college tennis.
The people that you're talking about right now would be the same ones who tell you it's about the name on the front of the jersey, not the name on the back of the jersey. Those are the same people that you would say, oh, this is going to affect it. But again, if your argument is it's all about the University of Florida or the University of Central Florida or the University of Miami, then whoever, Art Schneebly, who's our quarterback? Who's the guy that you always mention if we ever just did it by academic requirements at the schools?
Mortimer Schnurd.
Mortimer Schnurd. I'm sorry, I don't know where Art Schneebly. He's the tight end. He's the new tight end.
Mortimer Schnedley.
Either way, then you should be fine with that kid playing for your school. But you recognize that the product is going to wane if the best players are playing elsewhere. Here's the idea: is that, like any other business, it's a competition for employees. And people have never wanted to call college football players, college basketball players, employees of school because of the financial ramifications. But the truth of the matter is, there is a new business in town that's offering much better wages than college football and basketball, and your business is about to get buried.
And you know who else is worried about this? All right, speaking of businesses. All right, the best college basketball player or the best high school basketball players, they usually end up at places like, Montverde Academy right here in Central Florida, or IMG Academy over in Bradenton, or Oak Hill Academy up in Virginia. Guess what? These leagues, and I think it's because of this new overtime elite basketball league. So these private schools like Montverde and IMG, they just announced that they are starting a national prep powerhouse basketball league. Eight of these private school powerhouses are starting their own national high school basketball league. They're going to have their games televised by ESPN. Are they worried that this overtime elite league is going to start taking their players? Could these private academies start paying players too?
I was waiting on that portion of the press release, which is, but here's the truth. And it's funny you mentioned this because I thought about this yesterday as I was driving and thinking about these kids. Think about IMG. IMG has been luring the best college or high school football players to IMG for a while now, and IMG games are on ESPN. I can assure you that IMG gets some sort of financial benefit from being on, and those kids never see it. But now IMG sell, and I know because I looked into IMG at one point, was that 94% of their athletes, 95% of their athletes get college scholarships. And that's the sell. Well, again, that's great if nobody's offering straight cash homie, okay?
Yeah,
now,
like overtime elite is.
Now that's very different. And if these schools, I will say this about the super prep league, even if they don't get these two twins, right? And or if the next,
actually they have 4 twins now. They signed another set of twins from somewhere else yesterday.
Well, but I guess now what they're trying to do is position themselves where the next level of high school kids still wants to go to an IMG. Maybe they're not good enough to play and get paid at the elite, but that IMG level will increase their visibility for the future. So it still makes them more relevant than them staying at their local high schools and instead would choose to go to these academies.
All right, we're going to get into coming up. How is all of this going to affect college basketball? That'll be next on Open Mic.
Time to put the pedal to the floor. It's loud and live and local. Oh, time for open mic.
Now, the people watching on live stream must think I'm a real goofball. Wow. Welcome back to Open Mic. I'm Mike Bianchi, the goofball. The bulldog. Sports columnist of the Orlando Sentinel, joined as always by co-host Adam Reardon, the deceptive intellect, and of course, executive producer Kelly Velez,
Yes,
the
sir.
smooth operator.
In the building.
Together we are Open Mic, the troika of sports talk radio excellence in this place we call home, Central Florida. Next chance at $1,000, 8:10 a.m. Make an appointment. Presented by International Diamond Center. We call it the game day payday. All right, we were just talking about this story, about the new professional basketball league started up, big money behind it. The, what's it called again? The
Overtime Elite.
Overtime Elite. Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, is got money into it. A bunch of NBA players have money in it. Drake has money in it. So it is well funded, all right? So how is this going to affect college basketball? All right, so if this Overtime Elite League starts plucking the, 40, 50 elite high school basketball players, we know the NBA's G League, they now have a program, the Ignite program, which allows high school stars to bypass college ball and play a year of pro ball as a path to the NBA draft. All right, so say say 40 or 50 of the best high school players in the country are essentially just, either signing while they're in high school or right out of high school to go to this Overtime Elite League or the NBA's G League Ignite program. So essentially these would be these elite players who end up signing with the G League or OEL, I'm calling it, Overtime Elite League. All right. They're going to be the former one and doneers, right? Who used to enroll in college for 6 months, play one season of basketball, and then jump to the NBA before they even took their final exams. All right. So would you agree with that, Adam? These are going to be your former one and doneers?
Yeah, because they're saying like there's room for 30 guys in this league. So I mean, you're talking about those guys.
Yeah, and they'll probably expand it if it's a success. They'll probably expand it, but to start out, they're going to have 30 guys. So say it gets to the point where there's 50 guys going to the NBA G League or going to the Overtime Elite League. All right, so these are your former one and doneers. Here's why I think it helps college basketball. I think this is going to actually help college basketball. All right, and bear with OK Boomer here for a minute. All right, maybe colleges won't have to make a mockery of the term student athlete by recruiting athletes who don't really want to be in college. They're just there for 6 months because the NBA requires them to be there for 6 months because the NBA doesn't allow them to jump right into the league. College basketball coaches could then focus their attention on recruiting for lack of a better term, the second tier of high school players who would sign with the university with the hopes maybe of someday getting to the NBA. They'll develop their skills in college. They'll stay for a few years and maybe even, and I know this is a outlandish thought, maybe they'll even graduate. All right. So, and again, would you agree if that were to happen? All right. Here's what I think would happen. You can agree or disagree, guys. I think the Cameron Crazies would still pack the gym at Duke. I think we'd still root for our favorite college teams. I think we'd still fill out our NCAA tournament brackets. I think we'd still get excited about the buzzer beaters during March Madness. And I don't think anybody would care if the Bewley twins are playing in the Overtime Elite League. In my opinion.
I think you'd care. I think of like, who's the last guy that had to go one and done? Like Zion, right? When Zion came out of high school and he went to Duke, we knew we were going to watch Duke for Zion. Right now, we watch Duke anyway, but that's over the course of time. What I do think will happen if you're a fan of this, now this will, depends on where you fall as far as this is concerned, is I think that the gap between the best players and the second best players is pretty wide. I think the gap between the second best player and the third best player is much tighter. And if you start getting to the world where Duke is getting the second or third best player, and we'll just use UCF because we're here, UCF's getting the third and fourth, that gap is closed now. And I think what you'll get in college basketball, if we're taking the guys that only Kentucky, Kansas, Duke, and Carolina can get, if we're taking those guys off the table now, and those schools are being forced to recruit, there's a recruiting. I think what you'll get is more parity in college basketball. I think that you'll end up with that. And is that good for the sport or bad for the sport? That's up to you to decide. Look, Gonzaga's built it for like the last 20 years to where they're a dominant program. But I think that you have the ability to see schools pop up because they get a guy who just develops from their freshman to their sophomore year. He grows 6 inches and puts on 45 pounds, and all of a sudden he goes from what would have been a 2 to 3 star athlete to a guy that would have been one and done the year before. Now, you got to keep that guy, but you get him for at least 1 year. I think you'll end up with a little bit more parity because the Kansases, the Dukes, the Kentuckys can't just poach and cherry pick the 20 best players because they're not going to be available anymore because they're getting paid.
Yeah, but here's the other thing, all right? Like you mentioned Zion Williamson, obviously, guys like LeBron when they come out of high school, a lot of people know who they are, but most college basketball fans, they don't know who these players are that they're signing. They don't. Most college basketball fans don't even follow the sport until the NCAA tournament. I don't think it'll have much of an effect at all if the elite of the elite high school players go play in the overtime elite league or the NBA G League. I really don't.
Maybe not. Again, for me, the idea is that when Duke is playing against Syracuse on Super Tuesday, the picture in that little promo box that they have ain't Mike Krzyzewski. It was Zion Williamson at that time. But again, there are very few Zion Williamsons coming out of high school that people say, okay, we've got to watch this guy. Yeah, I guess I wouldn't know those guys. Like, I didn't know who these two twin brothers were, to be honest, and they're like right here in the backyard. I had no idea who they were, but. Obviously, people in the basketball circles know who they are enough to the point where they wanted to sign them to play professionally now.
You think the rowdy reptiles up in Gainesville that go to the basketball, you think they're in basketball circles? Hell no. They don't know who they're watching.
No.
So, all right, let's pause for station identification.
WYGM Orlando, WJRR HD2 Cocoa Beach. Listen live on iHeartRadio. Now. No, seriously, do it now.
2:19 left. Laker lead is 3. Will it be 6? It is! 6-point game! 98-92, courtesy of Anthony Davis.
Courtesy of AD getting it done last night. Let's talk a little NBA. The Lakers get off the deck. They bounce back from that Game 1 loss to the Phoenix Suns. They hold on for a 109-102 win over the Suns in Game 2 last night. And again, Anthony Davis, you want to talk about a bounce back game. He was pretty much awful in Game 1. In fact, after the game, he said, "This is on me. We're not going to win anything if I keep playing like this." Well, as I told Adam Reardon early this morning, if Anthony Davis was a stock, like in the stock market on Dow Jones, you would buy the dip. And I knew Anthony Davis was going to have a big game last night. He did. He scored 34 points. He hit that crucial three-pointer you just heard. He made 18 of 21 free throws. He was aggressive, unlike Game 1. 10 rebounds, 7 assists. If Anthony Davis, I think we all agree, he's a top 5 player in the league when he wants to be. All right. If he is determined and he wants to be a dominant player, the Lakers are going to win this series. Would anybody disagree with that?
Not at all.
Nope.
Yeah, because the guy is phenomenal when he wants to be. And I think it was Kelly who brought up earlier, in game one, he was like settling. He was settling in game one. He was not settling last night, Kelly Velez.
Right, and I think Adam said it earlier as well. He's like, listen, I don't want to hear none of this, first game, we got to fill it out. No, you have to go out there and perform. And I think when LeBron went down during the regular season towards like the tail end, right, the Lakers started losing. They had AD, of course. They just weren't getting it done. But I feel like the atmosphere is different and the mentality is different in a 7-game series, which is why I feel like if AD is as aggressive as he was yesterday, for instance, and everybody else plays their role correctly, and, LeBron's going to be LeBron regardless. But as long as AD shows up to that capacity, they'll win the series.
Yeah. The other LA team, though, I don't think they're going to win the series, all right? The Clippers fall behind 2-0 in their series to the Mavericks, who got 39 points from Luka Doncic last night. Give me some Luka from last night.
As Doncic will bring it across the line, straight away, now veers to his right, pick and roll with Kleba, turns the corner, all the way to the rim for the stuff. And Doncic looking over to official Scott Foster, wanting a foul call, did not get that.
I did not get it. Give me the highlight of him shooting the one-footed three-pointer.
Doncic across the line from right to left. Mavericks trying to play 2-for-1. Luka off 1 foot from 3. Oh, what a ridiculous shot. He was drifting to his left and just put it up because he was trying to play 2-for-1.
Listen, he was playing so much out of his mind. Even Dirk came from the sideline like, not bad. Pretty good.
Dirk Nowitzki was at the game last night in L.A., and you want to talk about a little bit of Dirk magic rubbing off on the Mavericks last night. Wow. They have, in both games, they have outshot the Clippers, who are the best three-point shooting team in the league. The Mavs last night made, what did they make last night? 18 of 34 from three-point range. Better than 50% as a team from three-point range. They made 17 three-pointers in game one. And we talked earlier, Tyronn Lue, the Clippers coach, said, I'm not concerned about being down 0-2.
That was
all
just
right,
fake
Adam
news.
Reardon. Yeah. Adam Reardon, question for you. If the Clippers, let's say, all right, so they're going back to Dallas now. They're going back to Dallas for 2 games, all right? And in Texas, those arenas are going to be filled. They can have capacity crowds in Dallas. Say the Clippers get swept in this series. Does Tyronn Lue get fired after 1 year?
Well, I mean, they did that last year, right? Didn't they fire their coach last year because
Doc Rivers?
Yeah, they blamed the coach last year. So you've already played that card. So if you're getting the same
swept
result
in the first round by a lower seeded team,
I think this has everything to do with the team that they tried to build. And listen, there have been teams that put together superstars and it doesn't work. Oklahoma City had 3 great players, never won a title. Sometimes the recipe you could
get
add
swept in the first round though.
No, but they did blow a 3-1 lead.
Yeah, they did.
As did LA last year. So you already played the, hey, it must have been the culture in the locker room. Let's fire the coach. Let's bring in somebody that all the players are going to sign off on. You've already played that card. It would be then time to turn the eye to the players themselves and go, who are we not getting things from?
Did
that we
Doc
thought we were going to
Rivers
get?
really get fired last year, or did he sort of wanted out as well?
Well, because
did he
people were
not?
blaming him. Basically, all the blame fell on him. And at the end of the day, to me, I think
It was a mutual decision between Doc and ownership.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll pay you to leave.
It's like when every time I get a girl dumps me, it was mutual.
That's right.
Whose idea was it? It was mutual.
Mutual.
It was mutual. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think you've already played that card, and you will, maybe you can fire Tyronn Lue, but I'd imagine in this climate in the NBA that the players themselves were quite privy to the idea that Tyronn Lue is going to be the head coach, and they all signed off on it. And so
they probably hired him. You're right. The players would have to fire him, not the ownership.
Yeah.
Absolutely. In the other game last night, no surprises. The Brooklyn Nets blew out the Boston Celtics 130-108. They take a 2-0 lead in that series. The Celtics didn't just have to worry about the big three. They had to worry about the big threes of the NBA's most accurate three-point shooter, the great Joe Harris, who got it done last night. Give me some Joe from last night.
Griffin out of the right wing, hands back Harris. Steps in with three. It's good! And now he owns the record for most threes in a playoff half for the Nets. Harris with 6 of them.
Tell the truth. Tell the truth, Adam. Did you know Joe Harris was the most accurate three-point shooter in the league? You probably thought it was Steph Curry or somebody like that, right?
I'll be 100%. I didn't know who Joe Harris was until I watched the highlights this morning.
Well, Joe Harris tied a franchise playoff record with 7 3-pointers, scores 25 points. Kevin Durant had 26 as the Nets cruise to victory. And again, Joe Harris has the best job in basketball. He just stands outside there in three-point range and waits for everybody to converge on Kevin Durant or James Harden or Kyrie Irving, and they just kick it out to old Joe, who cocks it and shoots it. That's his job. Cock it and shoot it.
See, but that's the difference between, like, for instance, like the Nets versus the Clippers, right? Because the Clippers, of course, you have your core when it comes to Kawhi, PG. Who's going to be the other person to score for you? Over here in Brooklyn, if one of those three superstars doesn't score, right? You got KD, you got James Harden, you got Kyrie. Listen, Joe Harris is going to be there for you, baby.
And you got Big Joe, baby.
And you got Blake scoring like 11, 12 a game.
Yeah, I thought Blake Griffin couldn't slam dunk anymore. I think he was. That guy was loafing in Detroit.
Listen, he heard all of that. He heard all the stories. Like, no. I'm going to remind you, even though he got dropped yesterday. Who dropped him? I forget. Somebody dropped him on his butt yesterday. But listen, man, that's what it is when you have role players playing their roles, Mike.
But
people told us that Blake Griffin couldn't even jump anymore because he could. Yeah, I mean, he hadn't had like a slam dunk in like 3 years in the NBA. I'm going, dude, he's like 6'7". I mean, you get one dunk in there.
He leaves Detroit and he's jumping over cars again. Yeah, that's what he's doing.
They forget he was the only person in Detroit, so had to develop a long range game. So he couldn't dunk anymore. He couldn't do that anymore.
Speaking of the Nets, after they took that 2-0 lead last night, Kyrie Irving contemplated the reception he would receive from the TD Garden crowd when the team returns. They traveled to Boston for Game 3. Of course, Kyrie Irving used to play for Boston. I think it was Rachel Nichols asked him last night what sort of reception he expects from the crowd in Boston.
2 seconds. Let me get it together. This one's frozen. Talk amongst yourselves.
It's frozen. All right. So
I haven't even heard it. Otherwise, I would.
We'll play the clip in a minute. But again, but let me just give you a hint. Boston fans aren't going to like what Kyrie Irving had to say. All right. And we know the reputation that Boston fans have of being perhaps a little racially insensitive.
Okay.
Shall we say? The history of Boston fans, and again, it's not all Boston fans, but Boston does have a history dating back to Bill Russell, who won 11 NBA championships when he was with the Celtics. He once called Boston a, quote, flea market of racism. Ooh. And who was the baseball player a few years ago? I think it was Adam Jones when he was the outfielder for the Orioles. He said he was called the N-word several times by Boston Red Sox fans during that game. Here's what Kyrie Irving had to say when asked what his reception will be like in Boston.
I mean, it's not my first time being an opponent in Boston. So, I'm just looking forward to competing with my teammates. And, hopefully we can just keep it strictly basketball. There's no belligerence or any racism going on, subtle racism and people yelling from the crowd. But even if it is, it's part of the nature of the game, and we're just going to focus on what we can control.
Is it something you've experienced in Boston before?
I'm not the only one that could attest to this, but it's just, it won't. It is what it is.
It is what it is. And then he started laughing. What's the reception going to be like in Boston? Game 3, Adam Burden.
Everything that he said there that, like hopefully there's not any of that. There's going to be a little of that. Maybe even a lot of that.
There's a reason he said it, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Again, in today's world, and again, we all know what's going on racially in this country. In today's world, is there anybody in there, even if you are a racist, who's going to overtly shout racist comments at a basketball game with cell phones? Who's going to do that?
It happens all around the world.
All
Mike.
around the world.
All
People
around
are
the world.
scumbags, man.
Yeah, and you get a couple of like $9 beers in you, and you're amongst your other racist buddies, who are probably like egging you on, and all of a sudden it happened. We saw it in Utah a couple of years ago. Was it with Russell Westbrook as well? I mean, we've seen this happen. Matter of fact, I want to say that during the last game of the Premier League season, I want to say it was at Manchester United. I could be wrong.
Yeah,
but they arrested a fan over there for racial.
But it happens a lot more in European soccer. Does it not?
You know what they're doing over there more so than they're doing here is cracking down on it as far as being a criminal offense, arresting people.
Right.
Now here we go, don't do that. We will take your season ticket. What they need to do is find out who the guy is and then press charges if this is happening. And then in Boston, it sounds like, according to Kyrie Irving and other athletes who have been around Boston and in that area, sounds like they'd be really busy if they had to do that.
Yeah. Again, I just don't see this happening. And again, maybe it's happened a couple years ago, but with the sensitivities today, I mean, people, if you utter a racial slur today and you're working, your business could be shut down.
Yeah, but
you
here's
get
the thing,
fired from your job.
Mike, you said the sensitivity of it all now. The people who are overly sensitive about it today have always been sensitive to it. I don't know any racists who over the last 2 years ago, man, yeah, this Black Lives Matter movement, it's made me think about my feelings on this. As a matter of fact, it's made them go in the other direction, even more vitriolic, as a matter of fact.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. All right, straight ahead, we're going to get to the blast. We are going to detonate on all the hot topics of the day. That is next on Open Mic.
Now.
It's time for The Blast.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for The Blast, brought to you by Frank Gay Services. When you have a plumbing or electrical problem, you need help now. Go to frankgayservices.com. Starting it all off with the open mic thought-provoking daily poll. With Deshaun Watson not expected to be deposed in the civil cases against him until Friday of 2022, do you think he will play in the NFL this season? Yes or no?
That would be February of 2022.
Yes.
It's going to be interesting. Again, he's not even going to be deposed until the football season is over, according to his lawyer, Rusty Hardin. And, man, I guess the NFL can do whatever they want to. I think he's become so toxic that I don't think Deshaun Watson, even if there's no solution to all of these civil cases against him, if they're not, if they're settled, that's one thing, all right? But if this continues and there's no solution to this, I think the NFL will still what is it? The commissioner's exempt list. I think they'll put Deshaun Watson on the commissioner's exempt list. They'll pay him, but he'll still sit out the season until there is a conclusion to this case. Just my prediction.
I think that over this course of time, and with this much attention, that there has probably been enough time for police to do some sort of criminal investigation. And are you a little bit surprised that in this time that there's these allegations against the guy and that there have been no criminal charges filed?
Well, I don't know how hard the police are pursuing. I mean, they said they were looking into it, but again,
yeah, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, I don't know.
And so if this remains to be a he said, she said civil case and not morph into, in my opinion, criminal allegations, then I think you got to let him play.
That's not the question. The question isn't should he play.
Will he play?
What's the question?
Will he play? Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I don't think so. Yeah.
56% of the vote said yes, he will play. Open mic supplemental poll number 1. Should wrestler/actor John Cena have apologized to China for referring to Taiwan as a country while promoting Fast and the Furious 9? Yes or no?
No. Do you have some of that clip? Play a little of him apologizing in Mandarin Chinese.
Let's get it.
你好，中国，就是叫西娜。我必须说，现在，在速度与激情中，我做很多采访，很多。
Okay, John.
所以在一个采访，我。
Very apologetic.
All right, so essentially what he's saying there, and I'm translating because I'm fluid in Mandarin Chinese. Actually, I'm reading the transcript right here. He said, I made a mistake. I'm really sorry. I really respect China and the Chinese people. He reiterated his apology in the video's caption by writing, I love and respect China and the Chinese people. Essentially, he apologized via some Chinese social media site. Why does he need to apologize for calling Taiwan a country? The people in Taiwan consider themselves a democratic republic, all right? The only reason they aren't an official country, because if they declare themselves that, China has threatened violence against the entire island, all right? So, no, he doesn't need to apologize for what he said, but he's doing it because, like we've seen in the NBA, everybody wants to suck up to China. By the way, after that John Cena video came out, I hear LeBron James, like a political party participant, said, I'm LeBron James, and I approve this message.
What is it? Should he have apologized? Is that the question, how it's worded? Well, yeah, if he wants to make some of that Chinese money on the movie, then yes. Yes. Is there big money to be made in China? Yeah. All right. Well, make it. Like I said, if somebody texted you and said it looks like a hostage video, that's right. Yeah. There's a producer of that film standing behind the lens going, you are going to speak some Mandarin today. Very sorry. I wrote 4 veries. You flubbed the lines. You only put 3 very sorries in there.
But 94% of the
Adam Reardon mantra. Money over morals.
It's not mine. I'm just saying that that's what he's decided.
It's true. This is real life, folks. 94% of the vote said no, he didn't have to apologize. Of course not. Apparently they didn't, want him to get some money. Open mic supplemental poll number 2. If more and more elite one-and-done basketball players skip college to join the new overtime elite pro league, do you think it will hurt or help college basketball? Hurt or help?
I think it'll help. I think it'll help because college basketball coaches can then concentrate on recruiting players. No, maybe they're not the one-and-doners they were previously recruiting, but they're still going to be able to recruit good talent. The Cameron Crazies are still going to fill the gym at Duke, and everybody's still going to get excited about their own college basketball program. And here's the other thing. The players they actually end up recruiting might actually stay a while, and we'll get to know them and recognize them, and they'll play in the NCAA tournament for 2 or 3 years, and we'll get to know who they are, unlike the one and doners who are gone before they even take their freshman final exams.
Yeah, I think it may actually help college basketball in this respect. That I think that there will be a parity now that we've never enjoyed because the top 5 teams get the top 25 players each and every year. So I'll be interested to see how it goes from there.
65% of the vote said it will hurt. Okay, guys, I like that. I see what you're doing there. Open mic supplemental poll number 3. Were the Miami Heat making the NBA Finals last year the biggest one-hit wonder since Dexy's Midnight Runners recorded Come On, Eileen? Absolutely yes or positively no?
I'm going to go no because they were a bigger one-hit wonder than the Baja Man. Who let the dogs out? Ho, ho, ho. Who let the dogs out? Ho, ho, ho. Yeah, that's how big of a one-hit wonder the Miami Heat were last year.
That's your new intro music, by the way. We're going to make this happen. Adam.
Miami Heat are a bigger one-hit wonder than Kawhi Leonard's playoff success back with Toronto.
Jesus. Yes. With 56% of the vote, absolutely yes, they are the biggest one-hit wonders. Open mic supplemental poll number 4 was the leaked video of Brooks Koepka cursing and eye-rolling Bryson DeChambeau at the PGA Championship. Good or bad for golf? Good or bad?
Oh, it's awesome. It's awesome for golf. Just watch the video and the total disdain that Brooks Koepka has for Bryson DeChambeau, who all Bryson DeChambeau's doing is walking by Brooks Koepka. He's walking nearby, and Brooks Koepka is so the hate in Brooks Koepka's eye is classic. The eye roll, he loses his train of thought. That's how much he hates Bryson DeChambeau. This is going to be a great rivalry if they keep it up, Adam.
Yeah, no question. Sign me up for this. Imagine if we had a major coming up this week, and on Sunday, these two guys are in the final pairing on a Sunday. They would put this thing on a loop.
Absolutely.
On Saturday night to get us all to watch. A real life rivalry. One that's not manufactured.
Golf Channel wouldn't put it on the loop. They didn't even air it to begin with.
They'll air it now.
With 76% of the vote, they said it's good for golf, and I agree as well. Open mic, would you rather poll? Would you rather get stuck in a food fight or water balloon fight?
Oh, yeah, that's easy. I mean, water balloon fights are fun. That's what we used to do as kids, have water balloon fights. Yeah.
Food fights
especially on a hot summer day. We'd get up on the second, so we used to have a second story in our house, and we used to drop them on each other. Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, the only way I'm getting in a food fight is if it's the only food involved is cookies, and your aim is so good you can throw them directly into my mouth. That's it.
Hey, listen, our audience agrees with you. 94% went water balloon fight. That's the blast brought to you by Frank Gay Services.